inspiration in my life. The presentation that I am right now showcasing is like a journey to me, where I started and how I ended up being a proud urban farmer, and huge, I owe it to the OTG members who have been constantly inspiring by the work they do. So we have all heard about the saying that we don't inherit, but we borrow. And this is constantly on my mind all the time because I need to leave something better for the future. And on a daily basis, this saying is in my mind. And I'm doing what I'm doing because that's what I am, focused to do. This is fine? Yeah, thank you. So my journey started early in 2009 when we had an RWA meeting where we decided, we'll do something about the waste that's being generated in Bangalore city. And we found that there was a lot of paper that was getting wasted. And what if we could just ask our residents in Malleshwaram to collect all the paper and send it for recycle? We mean by paper, every bit of paper, your bills, your tickets, every waste paper. If it could be collected and given to the recycler, we could make a big difference. It all started there. And then my visit to Vellore. So this is a place where they had the zero waste, models. So we went there, and when we came back, I brought a bunch of worms, and the next day they died. That was my first failure. But then that's the, start of the whole process of composting itself. And seeing the model there, we wanted to create such models in and around Bangalore. And Mavalipura was the last straw. After having gone to Mavalipura and visited the landfill where all our waste goes and seeing the damage that it is doing for our city, our environment and to the earth, it really broke my heart. And I said, why we as citizens can't involve ourselves in doing something that does not contribute to this mess and to this disaster. It is a total disaster there. Not only the villagers are suffering, everything there is contaminated. The ground, the air, and it's all coming back to us. So this actually started a movement. So we recognize that wealth is not waste, and every bit that we generate as waste is our responsibility. Now how best can we actually try to, deal with it within the spaces that we are in. So we don't be responsible for what we generate, but at source, what can we do? So that is why the whole journey started. And we found there's paper, there is plastic, there's metal, glass, everything that can be recycled. And of course, how? It's basic, you segregate them. You keep them in separated, so you don't mix your waste. So you put your paper separately, all your dry waste separately. Then there is something like the sanitary waste, which is highly contaminated. There is this wet composting that you can do with your kitchen waste. And fourthly is the hazardous waste that should not go into any of these streams. So once everybody recognizes this, I think we can all contribute. So now urban composting is the topic that I'm asked to talk about. So it is basically home composting, what every individual can do at their home. So there are different methods that I have practiced and sustained. So today whatever I'm showing you is all the practices that happen in my home. Every picture is from my own albums. So I practice both aerobic and anaerobic, and I teach a lot of people how to go about. I sustain this habit. That is why people believe that it is doable, because it's not one-off. It has, like the past 4 years, not one peel has left my home. I live in a flat, and I have converted everything into something so useful that my plants are happy, I am happy, and everybody around in my home is happy. So the first thing is, most people misunderstand composting. They associate it with bad smell. They associate it with something it's yucky. It has to be thrown out. There are flies and there are worms, so we don't want to deal with it. But once you understand the process, there is a scientific process in it. Once you understand that and start the practice, I think it's all about, it's an art that you hone, a skill that you get. And I don't think I can ever stop composting for life. It's a part of my lifestyle, and it is something that I enjoy doing, and it doesn't take much of my time, believe me. Now, in the anaerobic process, this is with a lack of oxygen. So I have tried this method, and it's very useful for people who don't want to deal it on a daily basis. So there is, it's something called the Bokashi method. You just have to start collecting. There is this bucket which is sold, in the market, which has a tap at the bottom, and you just start piling your food waste, every day's food waste, and then sprinkle some of the powder that comes with the system, and then on a daily basis you keep pressing it down. And in fact, I'm a household of 5, 6 of us, and it takes a month for me to fill this, because there is 2 parts to this composting. The first part is the fermentation or the pickling process, where the entire food waste that you put in, it starts to soften and pickle. It is highly acidic, and that is not compost. So we have a second stage. So on a regular basis, like once in 3-4 days, we drain the water out, and that water is highly nourishing for your plants. You can dilute it and spray to your plants, or you can put them into your drain and it cleans up your drain. So this is the first stage. The second stage is where you all these pictures are how to put the waste, and this is the powder, and the white fungus forms. You can see the white fungus, which is good for it, and this is the liquid that comes out. Once in 3-4 days you can pull it out from the tap and then use it. So now the thing about the second stage is that is where the composting happens. The second stage is where you're actually balancing it. It's highly acidic. You're neutralizing the whole thing. So here what we do, if you have a piece of land, or if there is, basically because this is something that we're trying to save, sending it away from our homes. So if you have a park in the front of your house, or if you have some space, you can make a trench and put the whole entire mass, whatever you've collected over a period of time, and then you mix it with soil and close it. And that patch of land, within a month, it is amended, and you can grow your food. You can grow your plants there. So that's one of the methods. The second one, what I do is I live in a flat, and I have a terrace. So I put a sheet of paper, dump the entire food which is being fermenting, and then add some compost to it, and some soil, and mix it up and leave it for another month or so, 15 days to 1 month, and then that neutralizes to become fantastic soil medium itself. So you can grow your plants directly into it. And this is the compost which is ready to use. Now, of course, there are maggots, and there will be issues when you're mixing. There will be issues with that. Will be once in so many days, because it is a strong acidic smell that comes. But it's okay, because it's your food waste, and you're doing a great job by not sending it to the land dumps. Now, the aerobic way, there are 2. One is the you can do the regular aerobic composting. Another is the vermicomposting. So I have effectively used the Kamba. It is an urban solution. So we have many solutions. You can try your own. There's no one particular way or one particular vessel that you have to use. You can use buckets. So just basically you understand the whole process. If you have to keep it aerobic in nature, you know that there is not going to be any smell. So the first part is take any container, and then this is the Kamba. It's a 3-pot system. It can be tucked out in your corner of your balcony, so it becomes extremely urban solution where your spaces are unconstrained. Then take all your kitchen waste. Then have enough dry leaves. There are so much dry leaves that fall during season, and people just burn it or throw it away. So if you could collect, and if you don't have, ask your friends to collect and bag them for you. So you have enough collection of dry leaves. It will run you through the whole year. Because I have a huge drum in my terrace which has only dry leaves, so which comes into handy every day for me, and I'm never giving an excuse that I don't have dry leaves to compost. So I continue the composting because I have the supply ready all the time. Now there's coffee powder, there's eggshells, there's food waste, everything, fruit peels, vegetable peels, all can go into it, and add some dry leaves onto it. And because this is a contained atmosphere, we need to have some kind of inoculum, some kind of accelerator that hastens the process. So for that we can use many things. So if you have cow dung, access to cow dung, that's one of the best. So if you could get your servants or maids or gardeners to pick up some cow dung, fresh cow dung, so that will be your first step. Source some cow dung, very little, not much. So that is you start sprinkling a little cow dung for the first few days till the entire breakdown starts, and then afterwards you have your own semi-done compost to inoculate the next pile. So, and then if you don't have access to cow dung, you can buy panchagavya. Panchagavya is available in bottles in stores, so you can pick it up. Even that can be used as an inoculum. If you don't have access to that, you can use even your buttermilk. If it's a little sour, that buttermilk is enough to inoculate your pile. And then if other than that, the fourth one is a semi-done compost. If your friends are composting, you can pick up a handful of moist compost. As long as it's moist, you know there is enough microorganisms for it to inoculate your pile. So that's one more thing. So make sure you put a mesh, or you can cover a newspaper on top, or put some dry leaves on top, so that you don't attract too many flies. Most people say these fruit flies come, and I don't want, it may be unhealthy for my children. So people have a lot of concerns around composting. So if you understand that you can innovate your own methods to keep them away, and then close the lid, and then once in 3 days or 4 days you turn the pile. On a daily basis you fill it up, and once in 2, 3, don't forget the dry leaves. Turn the pile. There's a lot of heat generated because of the microbial activity, and then you're aerating it. Make just one thing in aerobic composting: make sure your pile breathes always. So when it has to breathe, you need to turn it, because you have to introduce that oxygen inside. And then once it is full, you have to keep interchanging. Once you stop putting any fresh waste, it takes 30 to 40 days for it to completely decompose, and you have the compost ready. So if you can use a putty like that to seed the larger pieces, like mango seeds don't decompose that fast. It takes like 7 rounds for it to completely break down. So I don't even throw them. I keep taking it out in this filter, and then put it back to another round of composting. So here my compost is ready, and this is my black gold. So we have no foul smell if you can keep the process in the same way. But what we need to avoid is dairy and meat when we are doing this. But what the first one, anaerobic activity I showed you, the Bokashi types, that you can even put meat into it, meat, leftover food, and dairy food. Now vermicomposting is something that I really fell in love with, and I lost a lot of worms in the beginning because I didn't really know how to take care of them. But on the way I understood the worms need a good environment, because you're hosting them, and if you don't give the proper environment, they're definitely not going to like it. They either crawl out. Most people ask, why are my worms crawling out? Now I know why do they crawl. So they either it's too hot for them because you put too much of food waste, or there is not much moisture because they breathe through the skin and they need moisture, or because it's become very acidic, because if you put your orange peels and tomatoes and lemon peels, then the entire your compost gets very acidic, and they don't like to stay in acidic conditions. So this is something that I learned over a period of time. So you can take any container. So bedding is extremely important for vermi bin. So the bedding materials that I have used is cardboard, paper, dry cow dung. This is a mature cow dung. It's not fresh cow dung, because fresh cow dung again generates a lot of heat and the worms may not like it. And then coconut. You have the coconut coir in your house when you break your coconut. So all this you can dip in water and squeeze out the water and make the bedding. So I use this tubs, the Syntex tubs. They are extremely good because they have a divider, and we can start piling on one side and then stop and then pile on the other side, so that the worms will migrate. Now, of course, I've done it in Kamba also successfully, and now once you make the bedding, then you buy the worms. These are all special worms. They're called the red worms, which are for home composting. They're not the regular ones what we find in the earth. First, in the beginning, I thought any worm could be put, but they don't survive very long in your bins. But this has survived. They have survived many rounds, and I have gifted away so many worms to so many people because they continuously, they're multiplying. This Syntex tub has been extremely useful for me. There are a lot of worries, as I already told you. It's the environment, and it's the fruit flies that come. Too much of food is excess heat, and it has to be moist, and so on. And the third stage is you need the worms. the castings are the most important things. What they poop and what they discharge is the most nutritious thing that you can put for your plants. And to take the castings away from the worms is the harvesting. You have to take the castings. So how do you do? There are different methods. The traditional method is, put them all on a sheet, make mounds, and they don't like sunlight, so dive deep. They dive into the middle of the pile. So you just take away the castings and then put the worms back into another round of composting. So that's one method. And the second method which I innovated is I just took a pipe, water pipe, drilled holes and filled the pipe with cow dung and little jaggery and little bit of panchagavya and cocoa peat and all that. It was moist and rich and fresh, and I put it right in the middle of the pile. And within a week, all the worms migrated there. So they went into the pipe, and I had the castings all around. So I just had to take out the pipe, and I had the compost ready for my plants. So I could put the compost to my plants. And this in this particular bin, it can migrate because there is a divider and there's a gap under the divider, so they all go underneath. So these are the three different methods of actually separating the worms from your castings. Now, leaf mulch composting is another thing we have experimented. There's a lot of leaf litter in big gardens, homes which have a lot of trees. So most people don't know what to do with it. They're always wondering if we have to give it away to the municipality or burn them. So we found that this particular aerobic method, that away from the ground, which has some tunnels at the bottom of the pile, it's much faster. 60 days, we use cow dung, and we have done this method very successfully. And we get in 60 days we got, and naturally the worms might come from the ground, and they actually break down the entire compost. So I won't go too much in detail with this. This is how we build the platform, and we dip all the green waste and the biomass in cow dung slurry, and then pile it up, and then we just cover it with a sack, jute bag or something like that, and then water it every day. And at the end of 60 days, actually, you get fantastic compost. And this entire journey has ended up with my terrace garden being green. And I may not sustain a daily basis, but every time I get something out of my terrace, I'm really thrilled. And I know I'm going towards safe food, and I know I'll be growing my own food one final day. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'm really grateful for my team in Malaysia. They have been all the time supporting. And We Care for Malaysia is a team that has sustained a 2-year campaign talking about waste management and getting people to be sensitive. So we want Bangalore to be a waste sensitive city, and this is something that we have focused on. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Dear participants, you are quite fortunate to hear to Mrs. Vani Murthy. She gave almost a live demonstration of what she was doing, and it was a threadbare and step-by-step information about domestic composting and vermicomposting. It is extremely useful step for all those who are practicing kitchen garden, because we are generating our own compost. Otherwise, you have to bring it from outside. You have to pay for that. Otherwise, no. We are generating a lot of kitchen waste, and also we are sweeping a lot of leaves, dried and both green. And we can convert it into useful product, and that can complement your kitchen gardening activity or your terrace gardening activity. It is extremely useful to all of us here. And I wish that the tribe of Mrs. Vani Murthy should increase, and here we should find more of Vani Murthys here for Bangalore, so that our campaign of kitchen gardening and rooftop gardening will get a real meaning of what we mean. Madam, we are extremely thankful to you for giving very practical experience of yours, and also it was quite useful to all the participants here. Thank you, madam.